Night settles gently over the wide valley of the Nile. The last colors of the evening fade from the western sky, leaving behind a deep blue that slowly welcomes the first quiet stars. The warm air still carries the heat gathered during the long day, but little by little it begins to soften. A light breeze moves through the tall reeds near the riverbank, making them whisper together in slow, peaceful voices. The Nile itself hardly seems to move at all. Its dark water reflects the moon in long silver lines that gently break apart whenever a small fish rises beneath the surface. Somewhere in the distance, a frog calls once before becoming quiet again. The sound drifts across the water and disappears into the stillness. Along the river stand rows of mud brick homes, their flat roofs cooling after many hours beneath the desert sun. Families have finished their evening meal. Clay bowls have been washed. Bread baskets have been covered with woven cloth. Oil lamps burn with small golden flames, filling each room with soft light and long shadows that slowly sway against rough walls. Most people are already asleep. Children lie close beside their parents on woven reed mats. Their breathing has become slow and even. Outside, a tired donkey shifts its weight before settling for the night. A dog lifts its head for only a moment, listening to sounds that never quite arrive, then rests again. It is during quiet hours like these that ancient Egypt feels very different from the grand stories often told about it. Many people imagine endless monuments rising from golden sand. They picture mighty kings wearing shining crowns, priests speaking beneath towering columns, and armies marching beneath bright banners. Those things certainly belong to this ancient land. But tonight, our journey follows another path. Instead of standing beside a great temple, we will spend our time walking dusty roads that few travelers ever remembered. We will sit beside ordinary workers whose names were never carved into stone. We will wait patiently with scribes whose greatest adventure might simply be finishing another careful letter before sunset. And above all, we will discover something surprisingly slow. Long before trains, ships powered by engines, airplanes, or electric messages traveling across invisible wires, every word had to make its journey one careful step at a time. Every greeting, every tax record, every order from an official, every report about grain, stone, cattle, or linen, every invitation, every complaint, every family message, every request for supplies. Each one depended upon people. Not fast people. Simply patient people. In ancient Egypt, news traveled at the speed of tired feet, steady boats, and willing hands. And that was more than enough. Before sunrise, while much of the valley still sleeps beneath the fading stars, another day quietly begins. A small village slowly wakes near one of the many branches of the Nile. The first sounds are almost too gentle to notice. Someone stirs dry ashes inside a cooking hearth. A clay jar is lifted. A wooden door opens with a long, familiar creak. Sandals touch cool packed earth. Soon smoke rises from several rooftops as women begin baking fresh bread. The smell spreads through narrow paths between houses, mixing with damp river air and the sweet scent of wet mud left behind by yesterday's irrigation. Men stretch tired muscles before beginning another day of labor. Children rub sleep from their eyes. Goats call softly from simple pens. The entire village wakes not all at once, but little by little, like sunlight spreading across quiet water. Among the villagers lives a man named Hori. His name is common enough that there are many Horis throughout Egypt. No one beyond nearby towns would ever know which Hori he is. He does not own rich fields. He does not command soldiers. He does not advise the king. Instead, Hori carries messages. His work is simple. At least it appears simple. Each morning he receives small bundles of rolled papyrus tied carefully with linen cord. Sometimes only one message waits for him. Other days perhaps 6 or 7. Each roll has been written by a trained scribe whose careful handwriting covers the pale surface in neat dark lines. Hori cannot always read every message. He does not need to. His task is not to create the words. His task is to protect them. He gently places each rolled document inside a leather satchel worn smooth by years of travel. Then he begins walking. There is no hurry. There rarely can be. The road ahead stretches many miles beside fields where farmers already bent over young barley glowing softly beneath the first morning light. The earth still feels cool beneath his sandals. That will not last. By midday the ground will become almost too warm to touch. But for now, the morning is kind. Birds lift from the reeds. Water channels sparkle beside green fields. The river quietly accompanies him for much of his journey. The path itself is not truly a road in the modern sense. It is simply a route known by generations. Thousands of feet have pressed it firm over many years. Donkeys know it. Merchants know it. Children know it. Fishermen know it. Messengers like Hori know every bend almost without thinking. As he walks, he passes workers already lifting baskets of rich black soil. Others repair low irrigation walls damaged by last season's flood. Some farmers pause briefly to watch him pass. Most simply nod. A messenger is not unusual. He belongs to the quiet rhythm of daily life, appearing almost as naturally as the sunrise itself. No one expects him to run. Running would only bring exhaustion. His journey may last all day. Perhaps longer. The messages inside his satchel have already waited several days before reaching him. Waiting another day changes very little. Time itself feels different here. The seasons matter more than hours. The flood matters more than minutes. The harvest matters more than speed. And so Hori walks. Steady. Patient. Never rushing against the endless rhythm of the Nile. The morning grows brighter as the sun climbs higher above the eastern desert. Shadows become shorter. The cool breeze slowly fades, replaced by warmer air carrying fine dust that settles softly upon his sandals and the edge of his linen clothing. Every few miles he pauses beneath the shade of an acacia tree. Not because he is lazy. Because every traveler understands the desert's quiet rules. Drink before thirst grows strong. Rest before fatigue becomes heavy. Continue while strength remains. These simple habits keep both messenger and message safe. Around midday he reaches a small riverside landing where several narrow wooden boats wait against the bank. Some carry baskets of onions. Others hold jars of beer brewed from barley. One has fresh fish laid neatly beneath damp reeds. Another waits for passengers crossing to villages on the opposite shore. Here another messenger sits quietly beneath woven shade, eating coarse bread dipped into mashed beans. They greet one another with familiar kindness. No excitement. No urgency. Only two workers meeting during another ordinary day. One asks how far the other has traveled. The answer comes with a gentle smile. Far enough. Not too far. There is always more road ahead. And the Nile continues flowing beside them, calm as ever, carrying boats northward just as it has for countless generations. The two messengers finish their simple meal without speaking very much. There is no need to fill the quiet with many words. The shade is welcome, and the stillness carries its own gentle comfort. Nearby, a boatman kneels beside his vessel, checking the woven rope that holds it to a wooden post driven deep into the muddy bank. His hands move slowly from long habit. He runs his fingers over every knot before giving each one a careful pull. The rope has carried many loads across the Nile. It has felt the pull of grain, stone, baskets of vegetables, cages of ducks, and travelers with tired feet. Today it may also carry something far lighter in weight, yet no less important. A message. The papyrus itself weighs almost nothing. Rolled tightly and tied with linen thread, it could easily rest in the palm of a hand. Yet inside those thin sheets are words that may have taken hours to write. A scribe may have sharpened his reed pen several times before beginning. He may have mixed fresh black ink early that morning, grinding soot with water until it reached just the right thickness. Every careful mark was placed with steady fingers. Writing was never rushed. Neither was carrying it. Hori watches the boatman finish his work before stepping aboard. The narrow boat rocks gently beneath his weight, then becomes still once again. Several other travelers climb in after him. An older woman carries a basket covered with woven reeds. The smell of warm bread escapes through the tiny spaces between the fibers. A young fisherman brings 2 rolled nets over one shoulder. A farmer balances a sack of onions that will soon be traded in another village. No one seems impatient. The crossing begins when everyone has settled naturally into place. The boatman pushes away from shore using a long wooden pole. The soft mud lets go with little effort. For a few quiet moments the boat glides almost without sound. The river welcomes it. Gentle ripples spread outward behind the hull, catching pieces of sunlight that dance across the moving water. Small birds skim low over the surface before disappearing into tall reeds farther downstream. Hori rests one hand upon his satchel. Not because he fears anyone will take the messages. People understand their purpose. A sealed letter belongs to someone else. Opening it without permission would bring shame, and perhaps punishment. More than that, it would disturb a simple trust that allows villages, workshops, and officials to remain connected across many miles. Trust travels with every messenger. The crossing is not long. Soon the opposite bank grows larger. Children wait near the landing with clay jars balanced against their hips. They have come for water before the afternoon heat becomes too heavy. They pause to watch the arriving boat, curious but calm. One little boy notices Hori's satchel. Perhaps he wonders where the traveler has come from. Perhaps he imagines distant temples or bustling markets beyond the horizon. Or perhaps he simply wonders what it might be like to spend every day walking roads that disappear into the warm desert light. The messenger smiles gently as he steps onto dry ground once more. His journey continues. The path now winds between fields where workers bend quietly over rows of flax. The plants sway softly whenever a breeze passes through them. Their blue flowers have mostly faded, leaving behind long green stems that will one day become fine linen. The workers move with slow rhythm. Reach. Pull. Gather. Lay the stalks into neat bundles. Their hands know exactly what to do. There is comfort in work repeated through many seasons. Not because it is easy. Because it is familiar. One woman wipes her forehead with the edge of her linen shawl before returning to the harvest. An older man straightens his back for only a moment, stretching tired muscles that have labored beneath the Egyptian sun for many decades. Then he bends once more toward the earth. Hori offers each a quiet greeting as he passes. Some answer with a nod. Others raise a hand without stopping their work. The day belongs to everyone. Each person has a task waiting. As the afternoon grows warmer, the colors of the landscape begin to soften beneath the bright light. The rich black soil beside the river gives way to pale sand farther away. Palm trees cast long patches of welcome shade over irrigation canals where clear water slips gently toward thirsty fields. Dragonflies drift above the channels. A turtle rests half hidden upon a smooth stone. Everything seems to move slowly. Even the breeze has become lazy beneath the afternoon sun. Hori reaches another small settlement before the light begins to change. It is little more than a handful of mud brick homes gathered around a storage building with thick walls. Nearby stands a modest office where a local scribe spends most of his days recording grain deliveries, harvest amounts, labor assignments, and tax collections. The doorway stands open. Inside, the room feels cooler than the bright world outside. Bundles of papyrus rest neatly upon low wooden shelves. Clay jars filled with ink sit beneath folded linen to keep dust away. Several sharpened reed pens lie beside a smooth stone used for grinding pigments. The scribe looks up as Hori enters. He is an older man now. Thin lines surround his eyes from many years spent reading tiny signs across pale papyrus. His fingers carry faint dark stains that never seem to disappear completely. Without unnecessary words, Hori places the satchel upon the low table. The scribe unties each message carefully. Not to read them all. Some are meant for him. Others will continue farther tomorrow with another traveler. Each roll is examined to be sure the seal remains unbroken. Satisfied, the scribe nods with quiet appreciation. Another small piece of Egypt has remained connected. Not quickly. Not dramatically. Simply faithfully. Outside, the afternoon slowly leans toward evening. The fierce heat begins to ease. Children chase one another between the houses before being called home by gentle voices. Smoke rises once again from cooking fires. Someone grinds grain upon a flat stone, the steady scraping sound blending with distant bird calls along the riverbank. The smell of baking bread returns to the air. Fresh onions roast beside clay ovens. Lentils simmer in simple pots. After many miles beneath the sun, Hori is invited to share the evening meal. He sits cross-legged with a family he has never met before. Hospitality comes easily in a land where every traveler understands the value of kindness. Tomorrow the same family may send a son to another village, trusting that strangers there will offer him water and shade. The meal is plain. Warm bread. Beans flavored with herbs. A few dates. Cool water drawn from a covered jar. Nothing more is needed. As darkness gently settles across the village, conversation becomes quieter. An old grandfather speaks softly about the last great flood of the Nile. His grandchildren listen while leaning against their mother's shoulder, their eyelids already growing heavy. They have heard the story before, but they do not mind hearing it again. Outside, the stars slowly return above the valley. The same stars watched countless messengers before Hori. They watched scribes dip fresh reeds into black ink. They watched farmers carry grain home at sunset. They watched fishermen untangle their nets beneath moonlight. And tonight they shine once more upon another ordinary evening in ancient Egypt, where letters rest safely upon wooden shelves, waiting patiently for the next careful hands to continue their quiet journey. The village settles into the quiet rhythm of evening. The warmth of the day lingers in the mud brick walls, slowly drifting back into the cooling air. Oil lamps glow inside small homes, their gentle light slipping through open doorways and falling across the hard-packed earth outside. The smoke from cooking fires rises in thin, quiet lines before disappearing into the dark sky. Hori remains seated with the family long after the meal has ended. No one rushes to clear the bowls. There is little hurry anywhere. One by one, the children grow too sleepy to keep their eyes open. The youngest rests against his mother's shoulder, already dreaming. His older sister curls up on a woven reed mat, listening to the distant sound of frogs singing beside the river. The grandfather looks toward the open doorway. "The Nile will be kind tomorrow," he says softly. No one argues. The river decides many things. It decides when fields become rich with black soil. It decides when fishermen cast their nets. It decides how easily boats travel north or south. Even the messenger's journey depends upon its quiet waters. Hori thanks the family before stepping outside. The night air is gentle now. Above him stretches a sky filled with more stars than anyone could hope to count. Without the bright lights of distant cities, the heavens seem endless. The pale band of the Milky Way stretches from one horizon to the other, and the moon hangs low above the eastern desert. He sleeps that night upon the flat roof of the scribe's house. Many families choose their rooftops during the warmer months. The breeze moves more freely there, carrying away the heat stored inside the walls below. A woven mat is enough for comfort. A folded piece of linen serves as a pillow. The sounds of the village slowly disappear. A donkey shifts once before becoming still. Somewhere nearby, a dog gives a single bark. Then silence returns. It is not complete silence. The Nile is always speaking in its own quiet way. Water brushes gently against reeds. Fish disturb the surface from time to time. Night birds call across the dark marshes. Together these sounds become part of sleep itself. Long before dawn, Hori opens his eyes. The stars have begun to fade. The eastern horizon carries only the faintest hint of gray, almost too soft to notice. Around him the village still rests peacefully. The coolness of the night remains for a little while longer. He rolls his sleeping mat with practiced hands. There is comfort in beginning each morning the same way. Inside the scribe's office, another small bundle of papyrus already waits. During yesterday afternoon, new records had been written. A grain storekeeper needed to report his latest count. A temple official requested fresh linen. One farmer wished to settle a question about land beside an irrigation canal. None of these messages demanded great speed. Each would arrive when it arrived. The older scribe greets Hori with a warm smile. His lamp still burns beside the writing table. It seems he has already been awake for some time. Fresh ink sits inside a small clay dish. Several new reed pens lie beside it, carefully trimmed during the quiet hours before sunrise. Writing begins early. The morning air is cooler. The hand remains steady. The mind is clear. The scribe lifts one finished scroll and ties it neatly with clean linen thread. He presses a small seal into damp clay before handing it to Hori. "There is no hurry," the old man says gently. The messenger smiles. He already knows. Outside, the first birds begin greeting the day. Palm leaves rustle overhead. Across the fields, farmers emerge from their homes carrying wooden hoes across their shoulders. Women balance empty baskets as they walk toward community ovens where fresh bread will soon begin baking. The familiar smell of damp earth rises from irrigation channels. The floodwaters have long since withdrawn, leaving behind rich black soil that seems almost alive beneath bare feet. As Hori leaves the village, he walks beside workers heading toward the fields. Some carry simple lunches wrapped in linen cloth. Others lead patient oxen that will help pull wooden plows through softer ground. One elderly farmer walks with slower steps than the others. His back bends slightly from many years beneath the Egyptian sun. Still, he smiles as he notices the messenger. "My grandson thinks you travel everywhere," he says. Hori laughs quietly. "Not everywhere." The old farmer nods. "Far enough." Those simple words seem to satisfy them both. The road stretches onward beneath the growing light. Dust rises gently beneath each step. Here and there, patches of green interrupt the warm brown earth. Date palms stand beside small pools left from irrigation. White birds wait patiently along the water's edge before lifting into the air with slow, graceful wings. Hours pass almost unnoticed. The messenger has learned not to count every mile. Instead, he measures the day by smaller things. The position of the sun. The length of his shadow. The places where familiar trees offer shade. The villages where kind faces are waiting. Near midday he reaches a roadside shelter built many years before. Its walls are simple. Its roof is woven from palm branches supported by rough wooden posts. Travelers often pause here during the hottest part of the day. Today a potter rests beneath the shade. Several freshly fired bowls sit wrapped inside straw beside him. Across from him sits a woman carrying dyed linen cloth destined for a nearby workshop. A young apprentice sleeps with his back against one of the wooden posts, his head tilted forward, exhausted from yesterday's labor. No one speaks loudly. The heat itself encourages quiet voices. Water is shared. Bread is broken into smaller pieces. Dates pass from one pair of hands to another. Hori drinks slowly from a clay cup. The cool water carries the faint taste of the earthen jar in which it has been stored. It is refreshing after many hours beneath the sun. The potter studies the messenger's satchel. Important work, he says. Hori considers the words before answering. Careful work. The potter smiles. Perhaps that is a better description. Many imagine that messages change the world in great and sudden ways. Most do not. Most simply help ordinary life continue. A shipment of grain reaches the proper storehouse. A craftsman receives fresh copper. A temple knows how much oil remains for its lamps. A family learns that relatives in another village are healthy. These are quiet things. Yet a peaceful kingdom depends upon quiet things happening every single day. Without them, confusion grows. Without them, simple work becomes difficult. The afternoon slowly unfolds. When the fierce heat begins to soften, travelers gather their belongings once more. The potter carefully lifts his wrapped bowls. The woman adjusts her bundle of linen. The apprentice rubs sleep from his eyes before following his master down the dusty road. Hori rises as well. He settles the leather strap across his shoulder and steps once again into the warm golden light, carrying words that will continue their patient journey through the timeless rhythm of the Nile Valley. The road grows quieter as the afternoon stretches toward evening. Hori walks beside a narrow irrigation canal where clear water moves with a slow, steady current. The surface reflects the sky like polished stone, broken only when a small bird dips down to drink. Tall reeds sway gently in the breeze, brushing against one another with a soft whisper that seems to follow him for many steps. The heat has become gentler now. The harsh brightness of midday has faded into a warm golden glow that settles over the fields and mud brick homes. Farmers begin leaving their work behind. Wooden hoes rest across tired shoulders. Oxen move slowly toward their pens, their hooves leaving deep prints in the damp earth. A woman carrying a basket of freshly cut onions pauses beside the canal. She rinses the vegetables in the cool water before arranging them carefully once more. Nearby, two children float small bundles of reeds downstream, watching them drift around bends in the channel as if they were tiny boats sailing toward distant places. Hori continues onward without hurry. The satchel against his side feels slightly heavier than it did that morning, not because the messages weigh much, but because a full day of walking has settled into his muscles. His sandals are dusted pale from the road. A thin layer of sand clings to the hem of his linen kilt. These are ordinary signs of travel. No one notices them. No one needs to. As the sun lowers, he reaches a larger village than the one he left at dawn. A small temple stands near the center, its whitewashed walls glowing softly in the evening light. The smell of incense drifts from the open doorway, mixing with the scent of baking bread and roasting fish from nearby homes. The local scribe's office sits beside the temple courtyard. Hori steps inside and is welcomed by the familiar coolness of thick mud brick walls. The room is simple but orderly. Papyrus rolls are stacked in woven baskets. Clay seals rest in neat rows upon a low shelf. A young apprentice sits cross-legged on the floor, practicing signs upon a broken piece of pottery with a reed pen. The older scribe looks up from his work. He recognizes Hori immediately. Messengers and scribes often see one another many times over the years, becoming quiet companions in the slow movement of information across the valley. "Your journey has been peaceful?" the scribe asks. "Peaceful," Hori replies. The messages are exchanged with careful hands. One scroll is opened and read immediately. The others are placed aside for tomorrow's deliveries. The apprentice watches closely as the older man checks each seal. He is still learning that writing is only part of a scribe's duty. Protecting records, storing them properly, and sending them onward at the right time are equally important. A message that arrives safely is far more valuable than one written beautifully but lost along the road. Outside, evening deepens. The temple bell sounds softly once, calling the last visitors before night. Shadows stretch across the courtyard. A few villagers linger near the well, filling jars before darkness settles completely. The older scribe offers Hori a place to rest for the night. Again, the invitation is accepted with quiet gratitude. Soon they sit together on the flat roof of the building, sharing a simple meal of bread, lentils, and a small piece of dried fish. The sky above them turns from gold to violet, then slowly to deep blue. One by one, the stars appear. The apprentice joins them after finishing his tasks below. He is eager to ask questions. "Have you ever carried a message from the palace?" he asks softly. Hori thinks for a moment. "Yes," he says. "A few times." The boy's eyes widen. "Was it urgent?" The messenger smiles gently. "It arrived when it needed to arrive." The answer seems to puzzle the apprentice, who is still young enough to believe that important messages must always travel quickly. The older scribe chuckles quietly. "You will learn," he tells the boy. The Nile teaches patience to everyone. For a while they simply sit together, listening to the night sounds rising from the village below. Someone sings softly while grinding grain for tomorrow's bread. A donkey brays once in the distance. From the river comes the faint splash of an oar as a late boatman makes his way along the dark water. The air is cool now, carrying the smell of the river and damp earth. Hori lies back upon his woven mat and looks up at the stars. Somewhere beyond the horizon, other messengers are also resting beside roads and canals. Other scribes are finishing the last lines of their records by lamplight. Other families are settling into sleep after long days of work beneath the sun. And tomorrow, as always, the messages will continue their slow and faithful journey through the quiet world of ancient Egypt. I prefer this response. The afternoon sun hangs quietly above the valley. Its bright light washes over the fields, turning every narrow irrigation canal into a ribbon of silver. The warm air carries the gentle smell of damp earth where water has recently reached the crops. Beyond the green fields, the desert rests in complete silence, its pale hills softened by the shimmering heat. Hori walks without rushing. His sandals leave faint marks in the dusty path, though the next light breeze will soon erase them. Every traveler knows that roads in Egypt are never truly permanent. They exist because countless feet return to them each day. Ahead, a line of date palms offers a welcome patch of shade. He pauses beneath them for only a little while. Above him, the leaves rustle together with a slow, whispering sound. A dove coos somewhere high among the branches. Nearby, a small lizard slips across a warm stone before disappearing into the cracks of an old mud wall. The leather satchel rests beside him. Inside, the rolled papyrus remains safe. Some messages are only a few lines long. Others fill an entire sheet. A careful scribe has folded every edge with neat hands before rolling the papyrus into a tight cylinder. A small cord keeps each scroll from opening during the journey. The writing inside is invisible now. Only the sender and the receiver know exactly what those quiet words contain. Perhaps one scroll records the amount of barley harvested from a certain field. Another may ask for fresh timber to repair a river dock. A third could carry news that an elderly relative has recovered from illness after many difficult weeks. None of these messages will change the course of history. Yet each one matters deeply to the people waiting for it. As the afternoon grows older, Hori reaches another stretch of road where merchants often pass. Today only 2 donkeys approach from the south. Their loads are balanced carefully in woven baskets hanging across their backs. The baskets hold dried figs, onions, bundles of flax, and several small clay jars sealed with mud. The merchant leading them walks with slow, measured steps. His linen clothing is covered with fine dust gathered from many miles of travel. When he recognizes Hori, he raises one hand in greeting. "You are walking north today." "I am." "The road is quiet." "It usually is." The merchant smiles. Quiet roads are often good roads. They mean the weather has remained gentle. They mean no flood has washed away the path. They mean everyone continues with the ordinary work of another season. The 2 travelers share cool water from a clay flask before continuing in opposite directions. Soon the donkeys become little more than moving shapes against the bright earth. By late afternoon the light begins to soften. Long shadows stretch across the fields. Workers who spent the entire day harvesting grain begin carrying full baskets toward nearby storehouses. Each basket is heavy. 2 people often carry one together using wooden poles across their shoulders. Their pace is slow. No one complains loudly. They have performed this work since sunrise. Tomorrow they will likely do the same again. Near one field, several children gather loose stalks left behind after the harvest. Their hands move quickly. Nothing useful is wasted. Even the smallest bundles may feed animals or become part of another day's work. Their laughter rises briefly into the warm air before fading once more into the quiet rhythm of evening. Farther ahead, smoke already rises from village ovens. The familiar scent reaches Hori long before he arrives. Fresh bread. Warm barley cakes. Roasted onions. Simple lentil stew. The smells drip gently across the fields, carried by the evening breeze. They remind every traveler that the day's walking will soon come to an end. At the edge of the village stands a small building unlike the nearby homes. Its walls are slightly thicker. Its doorway is wider. Several wooden benches rest beneath a simple awning. This is one of the places where messengers sometimes exchange deliveries. No grand ceremony takes place. No guards stand outside. Only another traveler waits patiently beneath the shade. He is younger than Hori. His sandals still appear fairly new. His satchel has fewer signs of wear. The younger messenger rises as Hori approaches. Without hurry, they greet one another. They untie the leather straps securing the satchels. One by one, the rolled messages are compared against simple records written by the local scribe. Each scroll has reached the correct stopping place. Some will remain here. Others will continue farther tomorrow. The work requires careful attention, not speed. If a single message enters the wrong satchel, someone many days away may wait far longer than expected. The exchange takes time. Neither messenger seems bothered by that. When the last scroll has been checked twice, both men nod with quiet satisfaction. The younger traveler asks about conditions farther south. Were the river crossings calm? They were. And the roads? Dry. The answers are short. That is enough. For people whose lives are spent walking, simple information is often the most useful. As evening settles over the village, the local scribe invites both messengers inside. His office smells faintly of papyrus, ink, and dry reeds. Shelves built into the mud brick walls hold neatly rolled documents tied with colored cords. Some are records from only yesterday. Others have rested there for many years. Taxes, harvest reports, lists of workers, inventories of grain, deliveries of stone, receipts for linen, letters between officials. Together they form a quiet memory of the people living along this stretch of the Nile. The scribe lights another small oil lamp. Its gentle flame brightens the room with soft golden light. He opens a fresh sheet of papyrus. His reed pen touches the ink. Then, with calm and steady movements learned over many decades, he begins writing the date of another ordinary day. Outside, darkness slowly settles across the valley. The heat finally leaves the stones beneath everyone's feet. Families gather on rooftops where the evening breeze feels cool against tired skin. Children grow sleepy while listening to the soft conversations of their parents. Boats tied along the riverbank rock gently in the quiet current. The Nile continues flowing beneath the stars, just as it did yesterday, and just as it will tomorrow. And inside the small office, surrounded by shelves of carefully written words, tomorrow's messages wait patiently in the peaceful silence, ready for another slow journey through the ancient land. Morning arrives so quietly that no one can say exactly when the night has ended. The stars lose their brightness one by one, fading into a sky that slowly turns from deep blue to pale gray. Along the eastern horizon, a gentle ribbon of soft gold begins to appear above the distant desert. The first light touches the tops of the date palms before reaching the roofs of the village. A cool breeze still lingers. It slips through narrow lanes between mud brick homes and carries with it the fresh scent of the Nile. Reeds along the riverbank sway gently, brushing against one another with a quiet whisper. Somewhere nearby, a heron stands perfectly still in the shallow water, waiting with endless patience for the morning's first fish. Inside the scribe's office, the oil lamp has burned low. Only a small flame remains, dancing softly above the dark pool of oil. The older scribe has already awakened. He sits at his familiar wooden table with calm shoulders and steady hands. Before him lies a clean sheet of papyrus, smooth and pale beneath the growing daylight. He sharpens another reed pen. The careful scrape of the knife against the reed is one of the first sounds of the morning. Outside, the village begins to stir. A woman opens her wooden door and steps into the cool air with an empty clay jar balanced against her hip. Two young boys hurry toward the river with fishing nets rolled beneath their arms. Their voices are quiet, still softened by sleep. Nearby, someone begins grinding grain. The steady rhythm of stone against stone spreads gently through the village. Before long, another family joins in. Then another. Soon the familiar sound seems to come from every direction, as ordinary and dependable as the sunrise itself. Fresh bread will soon fill the air with its warm scent. Hori folds his sleeping mat and carries it downstairs. He thanks the scribe for another peaceful night beneath his roof. The older man smiles. "You travel today?" "I do." "There are only 3 messages." Hori nods. 3 messages are enough. Some days there are many more. Other days there are none at all. The pace of the road cannot be forced. The scribe reaches for a small wooden box resting on the corner of his table. Inside are several clay seals, each carrying the mark of a different office or workshop. He gently presses one into fresh clay wrapped around a linen cord. The seal hardens as the morning air dries it. Another message is ready. One by one, the scrolls disappear into Hori's worn leather satchel. The strap settles across his shoulder in the familiar way it has thousands of times before. The leather has become soft over the years, shaped by countless journeys beneath the Egyptian sun. Outside, smoke rises from the village ovens. The smell of fresh barley bread drifts through the streets. Children wait beside their mothers with eager faces while the first warm loaves emerge from the clay ovens. Steam rises gently into the cool morning air before disappearing. A baker places several loaves into a woven basket lined with linen cloth. The crust crackles softly as it cools. The smell follows Hori as he walks beyond the last houses. Soon the village grows smaller behind him. Ahead stretches another long ribbon of dusty road beside the Nile. The river reflects the early sunlight like polished bronze. Small fishing boats glide quietly across the calm surface. Their sails hang almost still in the gentle breeze. Fishermen move with practiced care, lowering woven nets into the water without disturbing its peaceful surface. One elderly fisherman recognizes Hori from many previous journeys. He raises his hand. "Any news from the south?" "Only quiet news." The fisherman smiles. "Those are the best kind." Hori continues walking. He thinks about those words for a while. Quiet news. Most messages are exactly that. No great celebrations. No terrible disasters. Simply the steady movement of everyday life. A shipment has arrived. A field has produced well. More papyrus is needed. Additional workers will come after the flood. Someone's brother hopes to visit after the harvest. Life continues through these small exchanges. Farther along the river, women kneel at the water's edge washing linen garments against smooth stones. Their movements are slow and steady. The fabric darkens with water before becoming bright once again beneath the morning sun. Nearby, children splash carefully in the shallows while an older sister keeps a watchful eye on them. Their laughter rises for only a moment before fading into the sounds of birds and flowing water. The road curves gently away from the river. For a short distance it passes through open farmland. Workers have already begun cutting reeds near a marsh. Their bronze knives flash briefly in the sunlight before disappearing among the tall green stalks. Each bundle is tied neatly with strips of fiber and stacked beside waiting carts. Nothing is wasted. The reeds may become baskets. They may become mats for sleeping. Some may even become part of a boat. Everything has its purpose. As the sun climbs higher, the warmth slowly returns. Hori adjusts the linen cloth covering the back of his neck. The shade grows smaller with every passing hour. Even the birds become quieter. They rest among the branches while the brightest part of the day approaches. Near midday, Hori reaches a narrow canal where clear water flows gently away from the Nile toward distant fields. A young boy stands beside a wooden shed, patiently helping his father lift water into the irrigation channel. Again and again, the long wooden beam rises and falls. The work is steady. Lift. Pour. Lower. Lift again. The father notices the messenger and pauses for only a moment. A warm day. It will be. You'll reach the next village before sunset. I hope so. The farmer nods, wiping sweat from his brow before returning to the shed. The rhythm begins once more. Water rises. Water falls. The fields drink quietly. Hori resumes his journey. His footsteps match the slow heartbeat of the ancient land around him. There is no race waiting at the end of the road. Only another village. Another scribe. Another careful exchange of rolled papyrus. Another evening beneath cooling skies. The road continues gently ahead, disappearing between fields of ripening grain, while the Nile flows beside it with the same patient grace it has carried for countless generations. The road continues beside the Nile with the quiet certainty of something that has been followed for generations. The morning has given way to the gentle weight of early afternoon. The sun now stands high above the valley, filling the air with a soft, shimmering warmth. Shadows have become short and faint, gathering only beneath the date palms and along the walls of small storehouses built from mud brick. Hori walks at the same steady pace. He has long ago learned that the road rewards patience more than haste. A messenger who rushes through the hottest hours will only arrive tired, thirsty, and less careful. The papyrus inside his satchel deserves steady hands and a clear mind. His sandals brush softly through the fine dust. Each step makes almost no sound. Only the gentle scrape of leather against the earth follows him, joining the distant calls of birds circling above the river. Ahead, a narrow canal crosses beneath the road. The water moves slowly through a shallow passage lined with smooth stones. Small fish gather where sunlight reaches the clear surface. Dragonflies hover above them with wings that seem almost invisible against the bright afternoon sky. Hori kneels beside the canal. He cups cool water into his hands and washes the dust from his face. The water feels fresh after many hours beneath the sun. He drinks slowly, never taking more than he needs. Nearby, an old sycamore fig spreads its wide branches over the bank. Its shade is deep and welcoming. Several travelers have already stopped there. A shepherd sits quietly with his flock resting nearby. The sheep lie close together, grateful for the cool ground beneath the tree. Their breathing is slow. Occasionally one lifts its head before settling again. A young woman has paused with two large baskets balanced beside her. They are filled with freshly woven linen cloth, folded with careful attention so that no corner becomes wrinkled before reaching the workshop waiting in the next village. Beside her rests an elderly carpenter. His tools lie neatly wrapped in linen. A wooden mallet. Several bronze chisels. A bow drill. Pieces of smooth cedar carefully tied together with rope. He notices Hori and offers a quiet smile. The road is peaceful today. It is. I have not seen many travelers. Only enough. The carpenter nods. Enough is often exactly what the day requires. For a little while they remain together beneath the broad branches without speaking. Silence feels comfortable. No one believes every quiet moment must be filled with conversation. The breeze moves gently through the leaves overhead. Tiny patches of sunlight drift across the ground as the branches sway. A pair of white ibises walk carefully along the edge of the canal, searching the soft mud with their curved beaks. They move with remarkable patience, never appearing hurried, never wasting energy. Watching them somehow makes the afternoon seem even slower. After a time, the shepherd rises first. He whistles softly. The sheep stand one after another, stretching stiff legs before gathering around him. Dust rises lightly beneath their hooves as they continue toward fresh grazing. The young woman adjusts the cloth beneath her baskets before lifting them once more. The carpenter wraps his tools with practiced hands. Soon Hori is walking again. The road bends gently eastward before returning toward the river. As he reaches the crest of a small rise, another village comes into view. From a distance it appears almost to grow from the earth itself. The walls are the same warm color as the soil. Flat roofs stand close together. Palm trees surround the settlement, their green crowns gently moving against the pale sky. Thin lines of smoke rise from several cooking fires. The smell reaches him before the buildings do. Fresh bread. Roasted garlic. Lentils slowly simmering inside clay pots. Someone has begun baking cakes sweetened with dates. The fragrance drifts across the warm air, mixing with the scent of damp reeds carried from the Nile. Children are the first to notice the traveler. Two boys pause in their game beside a stack of woven baskets. One quietly points toward the messenger's satchel. They have seen men like Hori before. To them, every messenger seems to carry stories from places they have never visited. One day, perhaps many years from now, one of these boys may become a messenger himself. For now, they simply watch him pass with wide, curious eyes. Near the center of the village stands the small administrative house. Its doorway remains open to welcome the afternoon breeze. Inside, the room feels pleasantly cool. The thick mud brick walls hold back much of the day's heat. Bundles of papyrus rest neatly upon wooden shelves. Each bundle is tied with linen cords of different colors. Some contain tax records. Others list deliveries of grain. Some preserve agreements between neighboring villages. Many have not been opened for months. Yet each remains carefully stored. Words are treated with respect. They represent promises, memories, responsibilities. A younger scribe sits cross-legged beside a low writing table. His hair is closely trimmed. His fingers already bear the faint dark stains left by years of ink. He looks up as Hori enters. Without unnecessary ceremony, the messenger places the satchel upon the table. The scribe unties the leather flap carefully. One by one, the scrolls emerge. Each seal is inspected. Each name is quietly read. The room remains almost silent except for the gentle rustle of papyrus. The younger scribe reaches for a smooth piece of limestone covered with neat columns of writing. It serves as his record for arriving messages. He makes a careful mark beside each delivery. Nothing is hurried. Accuracy matters far more than speed. Once the last message has been accounted for, he places both hands lightly upon the table. They have all arrived safely. Hori inclines his head. Good. The single word carries quiet satisfaction. Another day's work has unfolded exactly as it should. Outside, the afternoon slowly begins its long journey toward evening. The harsh brightness softens little by little. Workers return from nearby fields carrying wooden hoes across tired shoulders. Fishermen pull their boats gently onto the muddy banks. Women gather dry reeds for tomorrow's cooking fires. A potter shapes one final clay jar before covering his wheel for the night. Everywhere, the pace becomes slower. The day's labor gently loosens its hold. The younger scribe invites Hori to remain until morning. Fresh messages are still being written. Several officials have not yet returned from inspecting irrigation channels farther south. Their reports will be ready after sunset. Hori accepts with quiet gratitude. There is comfort in staying where work naturally pauses. As evening approaches, he steps outside once more. The western sky glows with soft shades of amber and rose. The Nile reflects those colors like polished glass. A flock of birds crosses overhead in perfect silence before settling among the reeds. The first cool breeze of the evening brushes gently across the village. It carries away the last heavy warmth of the day. People begin climbing onto their rooftops with woven mats tucked beneath their arms. Neighbors exchange calm greetings. Children yawn without trying to hide it. Oil lamps appear one by one inside open doorways, each adding a small circle of golden light to the growing darkness. Hori watches the river for a long moment. Somewhere beyond the bend, other messengers are finishing their own journeys. Other scribes are rolling fresh papyrus. Other families are sharing warm bread beneath the evening sky. And while no one village can see the others, they are all quietly connected, one careful message at a time, through the slow and patient rhythm of ancient Egypt. Evening settles over the village with such gentle patience that it seems to arrive one breath at a time. The western sky slowly gives up its warm colors. Gold becomes amber. Amber becomes soft violet. At last, the first stars begin to appear above the eastern desert, faint at first, then brighter as the light fades from the earth below. The day's heat leaves the mud brick walls little by little. People welcome the cooler air with quiet smiles. On the rooftops, woven reed mats are spread across the flat surfaces where families will sleep. Clay water jars are carried upstairs and placed in the corners where the night air can keep them cool. Mothers shake dust from folded blankets. Fathers sit with tired legs stretched before them, enjoying the simple comfort of resting after another long day of work. The sounds of the village change. During daylight, the air belongs to footsteps, voices, grinding stones, and the steady work of many hands. Now those sounds slowly disappear. The grinding of grain comes to an end. The donkeys settle into their pens. The last fishing boat is pulled gently onto the riverbank. Only quiet conversation remains, drifting softly between neighboring rooftops before fading into the calm night. Hori sits beside the younger scribe near the doorway of the administrative house. Between them rests a small oil lamp. Its flame is no larger than the tip of a finger, yet it fills the room with warm golden light. The scribe is still working. His reed pen moves slowly across fresh papyrus. Each line is written with remarkable care. Before every sentence, he pauses for a moment, allowing his hand to become perfectly still. Only then does the pen touch the page. The ink glides smoothly over the fibers of the papyrus. Scratch. Pause. Scratch again. The quiet rhythm almost resembles gentle rain falling on distant leaves. Hori has heard this sound in many villages. Every scribe has a slightly different way of writing. Some write quickly. Some slowly. Some press the reed more firmly. Others barely touch the surface. With enough years upon the road, a messenger can almost recognize a familiar scribe simply by listening. The younger man finishes another line before placing the pen across the edge of the ink dish. He lifts the papyrus toward the lamp. The ink shines for a moment before becoming dull as it dries. No breeze enters the room. Nothing disturbs the careful work. After several minutes, he rolls the sheet with steady fingers. The edges meet perfectly. A thin strip of linen is wrapped around it twice before being tied with a simple knot. Another message is ready for tomorrow's journey. Hori watches without speaking. He understands that writing deserves silence. Outside, the moon rises above the palm trees. Its pale light spreads across the Nile. The river no longer reflects bright blue skies or golden sunlight. Now it mirrors silver. Gentle ripples shimmer beneath the moon as though tiny pieces of polished stone have been scattered across the water. Far downstream, someone paddles a small boat toward home. The oar enters the water without a splash. Each stroke is slow. The boat seems almost to drift by itself. The fisherman has no reason to hurry. His family will still be waiting. The village gates are not closed. The night belongs to those who move quietly. A cool breeze enters the doorway at last. It carries the fresh smell of river water mixed with damp reeds and distant fields. The younger scribe breathes deeply. The air is kinder tonight. Hori nods. It will be good for walking tomorrow. The words are simple. No more need to be said. Morning will arrive whether anyone speaks of it or not. The lamp burns lower. The younger scribe gently covers the ink dish with a small clay lid so that dust will not settle inside overnight. His reed pens are washed carefully in clean water. Each one is dried with a scrap of linen before being placed inside a narrow wooden case. Nothing is left scattered across the table. Everything has its place. Good order makes tomorrow's work easier. The room slowly becomes quiet again. Outside, families begin lying down beneath the stars. Children ask sleepy questions that fade into yawns before they are finished. An elderly woman softly hums an old tune while folding a blanket beneath her head. Nearby, two brothers point toward the brightest stars, wondering which ones will still be there when the flood returns. Their father smiles but says nothing. Some questions do not require answers. They are pleasant simply to wonder about. Hori climbs the narrow stairway leading to the roof. The woven mat waiting there feels familiar beneath his hands. He places his satchel beside him before lying back. Even while sleeping, the messages remain close. Not because he fears losing them. Because tomorrow begins early. There is comfort in knowing everything is ready. Above him stretches the endless sky. The stars seem even brighter here than they did in the previous village. Perhaps every village believes the same. The Milky Way arches overhead like a pale river flowing through the heavens, quiet and unhurried. Hori closes his eyes. For a little while, he listens. The Nile whispers against its banks. A nightbird calls once from the reeds. Palm leaves rustle gently in the breeze. Far away, another donkey shifts in its sleep. One by one, even these small sounds become fewer. The village sinks into peaceful silence. Long before dawn, the air grows noticeably cooler. A thin mist rises above parts of the river where the water meets the cool night. The world feels wrapped in stillness. Before the first bird sings, Hori is awake once more. Years upon the road have taught his body to greet the morning before the sun. He sits quietly for several moments, watching the stars slowly disappear. There is no need to hurry. The day has not yet begun. Across the rooftops, only a handful of people are awake. An old baker below is already preparing his oven. He kneels beside yesterday's ashes, carefully arranging fresh bundles of dry reeds and small pieces of wood. Soon a tiny flame appears. It grows slowly, sending the first thin ribbon of smoke into the pale morning sky. Nearby, a woman opens a clay jar and begins mixing ground barley with cool water. Her hands move with gentle confidence. She has repeated these same movements thousands of times. Nothing about them feels hurried. Nothing feels wasted. The village wakes in the same quiet order it has known for generations. Inside the administrative house, the younger scribe has already placed 3 fresh scrolls upon the writing table. They waited through the night after the ink had fully dried. Now each bears a smooth clay seal marked with the sign of the local office. Hori lifts them one by one. He checks every seal with careful fingers. None are cracked. None are broken. Satisfied, he places them gently inside the satchel. The leather flap closes with a familiar sound. Outside, the eastern horizon begins glowing with soft bands of pale gold. The first rays of sunlight reach the tops of the palms. Birds emerge from the reeds. Fishing boats loosen their ropes. Farmers shoulder their wooden tools. Another ordinary day quietly unfolds beside the Nile, and with the calm certainty of countless mornings before it, Hori steps onto the dusty road once again, carrying words that will travel only as fast as patient feet, steady boats, and the peaceful rhythm of ancient Egypt itself. The road ahead is still cool from the night. For a little while, the earth remembers the darkness. The dust beneath Hori's sandals feels firm, and the morning breeze carries the fresh scent of water drifting from the Nile. It is one of the quiet gifts that arrives before sunrise and slowly disappears as the day grows warm. The eastern sky brightens with gentle patience. Soft bands of gold spread above the horizon, touching the tops of the date palms before reaching the fields below. The river catches the first light and answers with a calm shimmer, as though it has awakened without ever truly sleeping. Hori walks beside the water for much of the morning. The path is familiar. In some places it is little more than packed earth worn smooth by generations of travelers. In others, it narrows between fields where barley sways gently in the cool breeze. Tiny droplets of dew still cling to the stalks, sparkling quietly before the sun can carry them away. The world feels fresh again. Even the birds seem to know that these first hours belong to gentle work. White egrets step carefully through the shallows near the reeds, lifting one foot after another with remarkable patience. Small swallows dart low across the river, their wings barely touching the cool air above the water. A fisherman is already awake. His narrow wooden boat rests only a short distance from the bank. He kneels near the bow, carefully repairing a section of woven net that became tangled the day before. His fingers move without hesitation. Thread passes through thread. Knot follows knot. Every movement is quiet. The net will not be finished quickly. It does not need to be. A well-made net serves faithfully for many seasons. A hurried repair may fail before sunset. As Hori passes, the fisherman raises his head. Good morning. And to you. The river is calm. It is. That will help the boats. Hori nods. A calm river is welcome news for everyone who carries messages. Many journeys depend not only upon roads, but upon the quiet strength of the Nile itself. Some villages are easier to reach by water than by land. Others lie beyond marshes where only experienced boatmen know the safest channels. A messenger often becomes both walker and passenger. Today, however, the road continues easily along the eastern bank. Far ahead, a cluster of sycamore trees marks the edge of another farming settlement. The village is still waking. Smoke rises from only a few ovens. The smell of fresh bread has not yet spread through every street. A young girl sweeps dust away from the doorway of her family's home using a bundle of dried reeds tied together with cord. She works carefully, pushing yesterday's footprints into neat little piles before carrying the dust outside the village wall. An older woman kneels beside a grinding stone. Her hands move in slow circles. Grain becomes flour little by little. The steady sound of stone against stone blends with the distant songs of morning birds. No one speaks loudly. Morning invites softer voices. Near the center of the village stands a small stable where several donkeys wait patiently beneath a simple roof of palm branches. One of them stretches its neck toward Hori. Its ears twitch as if hoping the traveler carries a handful of barley. Instead, Hori reaches out and gently strokes the animal's neck. The donkey closes its eyes for just a moment. Its work will begin soon enough. Like everyone else in the valley, it enjoys these few quiet moments before the day grows busy. Beside the stable, a young boy carefully brushes dust from a small wooden cart. The wheels are solid discs cut from thick wood. Their edges are worn smooth after many years upon the road. Today the cart will carry sacks of onions to a nearby market. Tomorrow it may carry jars of oil. The next day perhaps bundles of flax. Its purpose changes often. Its pace never does. Slow. Steady. Reliable. Hori continues onward. The morning sun climbs higher. Warmth slowly settles across the valley once more. He loosens the linen cloth around his neck just enough to allow the breeze to reach his skin. Ahead, he notices another traveler approaching from the north. The man walks with careful steps beneath the weight of a large wicker basket balanced across his shoulders. Inside the basket rest dozens of small clay jars, each sealed with wax and wrapped in straw. As they meet, both pause beneath the shade of a palm. The traveler lowers his basket with a quiet sigh. "My wife makes scented oil," he explains. "The jars are for the temple. And for several families preparing a wedding." Hori smiles. There are always reasons for people to send messages. There are always reasons for people to travel. Sometimes those reasons are tied to harvests. Sometimes to business. Sometimes to family. The merchant offers Hori a small piece of dried fig. Its sweetness lingers pleasantly after so many hours of walking. In return, Hori shares cool water from his clay flask. The exchange feels natural. Nothing is measured. Nothing is expected. Hospitality travels the roads as faithfully as the messengers themselves. Soon they part with quiet wishes for safe journeys. The road becomes empty once again. Only the sound of Hori's footsteps remains. As the sun approaches its highest point, the valley grows still. Workers seek whatever shade they can find. Birdsong becomes less frequent. Even the breeze seems to rest. Hori reaches a broad tamarisk tree standing alone beside a shallow canal. Its branches spread wide enough to shelter several travelers at once. Today no one else is there. He removes his satchel and places it carefully against the trunk. From a linen bundle he takes a simple midday meal. A small loaf of barley bread. A handful of olives. 2 dates. A piece of soft white cheese wrapped in cloth. He eats slowly. Each bite is unhurried. The bread is slightly warm from the morning baking. The olives carry a pleasant sharpness. The cheese is cool from the earthen jar in which it traveled. Nearby, the canal moves almost silently. Water slips between reeds with a gentle murmur that hardly rises above a whisper. A dragonfly lands upon a reed stem. Its delicate wings catch the sunlight for only a moment before it lifts away again. Hori leans back against the rough bark of the tamarisk. His eyes rest upon the fields stretching toward the river. In the distance, farmers continue their work despite the growing heat. They lift water with wooden shaduffs. They guide oxen through narrow furrows. They gather vegetables into woven baskets. Their movements are slow now, shaped by the warmth of the day. No one wastes strength. The afternoon is long. There is plenty of work still waiting. After resting beneath the shade, Hori stands once more. He brushes the dust from his linen tunic, settles the familiar leather strap across his shoulder, and listens for a moment to the peaceful sounds of the Nile Valley. The whisper of water. The rustle of palm leaves. The quiet call of a distant heron. The soft wind moving through ripening grain. These sounds have accompanied every messenger who has walked this road for generations. With calm steps and an unhurried heart, Hori returns to the dusty path, carrying another handful of carefully written words toward villages that wait, patiently and without hurry, somewhere beyond a gentle bend of the river. The path curves gently with the river, never forcing its way through the land, but following the shape that the Nile has patiently given it over many centuries. Hori walks beneath the quiet afternoon sky. The warmth has settled into the earth now. Every stone beside the road holds a little of the sun's heat. The air shimmers above the distant fields, making the palm trees appear to sway even when the breeze has become still. He is in no hurry. The villages ahead have stood where they are for generations. They will still be there when he arrives. The messages inside his satchel have already waded through careful writing, drying ink, and sealed clay. They can wade through a few more peaceful miles of walking. Along the edge of the road grows a line of papyrus reeds. Their tall green stems rise from shallow water where the river has quietly spread into a small marsh. The feathery tops move gently whenever the faintest wind passes through. Hori pauses beside them. Few travelers pass a stand of papyrus without giving it a second glance. These plants are more than reeds. They carry voices. Many of the messages resting inside his satchel began here. Months earlier, workers cut thick green stalks from places very much like this one. They carried them home in neat bundles balanced across their shoulders. The outer green skin was carefully removed with small knives until the pale inner stem was revealed. That soft white center held the promise of countless written words. Thin strips were sliced from each stalk with patient hands. One layer was laid carefully beside another. A second layer crossed over the first. The pieces were pressed together beneath smooth stones and weighted boards until they slowly became a single sheet. No one expected the work to finish in a single afternoon. Good papyrus rewarded patience. After drying beneath the Egyptian sun, the surface was rubbed smooth with polished stones or shells until a reed pen could glide across it without catching on rough fibers. Only then did the sheet become ready for a scribe. As Hori looks over the quiet marsh, he imagines workers performing these familiar tasks. Not quickly. Not carelessly. One careful movement after another. Every letter that crossed Egypt depended upon these forgotten hands. The papyrus rustles softly in the breeze. Its whisper seems almost like distant conversation. Soon Hori continues onward. The afternoon has begun its slow journey toward evening. The light changes so gradually that it is almost impossible to notice. The bright white glare softens. The colors of the fields become richer. The black soil beside the irrigation canals grows darker as the sun lowers little by little toward the western hills. Ahead, several farmers rest beneath a broad sycamore fig. Their wooden hoes lean against the trunk. Clay water jars stand nearby, wrapped with damp cloth to keep them cool. The men have removed their sandals for a short while, allowing tired feet to rest upon the cooler earth beneath the tree. One of them waves Hori over. There is room in the shade. Hori smiles with quiet gratitude. Shade is never refused. He joins them beneath the spreading branches. For a little while no one speaks. The breeze itself seems enough. One farmer tears a loaf of barley bread into several pieces. Without ceremony, he offers one to Hori. Another passes around a small bowl of crushed beans mixed with herbs and oil. The meal is simple. The company is gentle. One of the older farmers finally breaks the silence. My father worked these same fields. He looks toward the river as he speaks. And his father before him. The others nod. No one seems surprised. Many families have remained beside the same stretch of the Nile for generations beyond counting. They know every bend in the canals, every palm tree, every patch of fertile ground left behind by the yearly flood. Hori listens more than he speaks. Messengers often become quiet keepers of many small stories. Not because they carry secrets. Because they travel enough to hear the ordinary conversations of countless villages. He hears about the flood level from the previous season. About a stubborn ox that finally learned to pull the plow without wandering. About a daughter soon to marry a potter from another village. About an elderly neighbor whose knees have grown stiff after many years in the fields. Simple conversations. Gentle conversations. The kind that rarely appear in official records. Yet they form the true heartbeat of the valley. When the meal has ended, everyone thanks one another with quiet smiles. The farmers return to their work. Hori returns to the road. The shadows have become noticeably longer now. Palm trunks stretch dark lines across the dusty path. White birds gather near the edges of irrigation pools where frogs begin to stir after the hottest hours have passed. As he walks, the sounds around him slowly change. The steady scraping of hose becomes less frequent. Children's voices begin to drift from distant villages. A donkey brays somewhere beyond a stand of palms. From across the river comes the hollow tapping of a carpenter shaping fresh timber with a wooden mallet. Tap. Tap. Pause. Tap again. The slow rhythm carries clearly through the calm evening air. Not far ahead, Hori reaches a small riverside landing. Several boats are tied to wooden posts driven deep into the muddy bank. Most are fishing boats. One carries baskets of onions covered with damp cloth. Another has bundles of flax stacked neatly from bow to stern. A boatman sits on an overturned basket, repairing a worn section of rope. He twists fresh fibers together with practiced fingers. Each strand is tightened carefully before the next is added. Strong rope cannot be rushed. It must grow one twist at a time. The boatman looks up as Hori approaches. Crossing. If the river is willing. The old man smiles. The river is always willing. He unties the rope from the post. The boat drifts gently away from the bank before the long steering oar guides it toward deeper water. Hori settles quietly onto a wooden bench polished smooth by many years of travelers. There are only 4 passengers today. An elderly woman carrying a basket of fresh herbs. A young mason returning home with his bronze tools wrapped in linen. A boy holding 2 small cages containing ducks that quack softly from time to time. And Hori, whose satchel rests safely beside him. The crossing is peaceful. The Nile moves with calm confidence beneath the boat. Small ripples spread away from the hull in widening circles. The breeze has returned, cooler now, carrying the fresh scent of water and reeds. Halfway across, everyone grows unusually quiet. Perhaps it is the gentle movement of the boat. Perhaps it is the beauty of the evening light. The western sky glows with warm shades of honey and pale copper. The river reflects those colors so perfectly that it becomes difficult to tell where the water ends and the sky begins. Even the ducks become still. For a few precious moments, the entire boat seems to float through silence itself. The opposite bank draws nearer. Children wait beside the landing with empty water jars. Behind them, smoke rises from evening cooking fires. The comforting smell of baking bread drifts toward the river once more. Another village waits. Another scribe will soon unroll another carefully tied message. Another family will hear news that has traveled for many patient days beneath the warm Egyptian sun. Hori steps ashore with the same quiet care that has guided every mile of his journey, and together with the fading light of another peaceful evening, he continues into the softly glowing village where words and people move at the gentle, unhurried pace of the ancient world. The village welcomes the evening without ceremony. There are no great gates standing open, no crowds waiting in the streets, and no loud voices calling across the square. Life simply continues as it always has, one quiet task flowing into the next. Hori steps away from the riverbank and follows a narrow lane between rows of mud brick homes. The day's warmth still lingers in the walls, but the first cool breath of night is beginning to soften the air. Small lamps glow inside open doorways, their gentle flames painting warm circles of light across the packed earth. The smell of supper drifts through the village. Fresh bread has just been lifted from clay ovens. A pot of lentils simmers over glowing coals. Someone is roasting leeks with herbs gathered from a nearby garden. Another family has prepared fish caught only a few hours earlier from the Nile. The scents mingle together without competing, filling the evening with quiet comfort. Children sit beside their parents as the meal is shared. No one seems to hurry through it. The oldest members of each household eat slowly, breaking bread into careful pieces before passing it to smaller hands. The youngest children grow quieter with every bite, their long day of running and helping finally giving way to sleepiness. Hori walks toward the village record house. It is a simple building. Its walls are thick enough to keep the inside pleasantly cool, even after a hot afternoon. A single sycamore tree grows beside the doorway, its broad branches offering shade that has welcomed generations of scribes, messengers, and farmers waiting to speak with them. An older man sits beneath the tree. His beard has turned almost completely white. Across his knees rests a basket filled with rolled papyrus. He is not writing. Instead, he patiently sorts the scrolls according to where they will travel next. Some belong farther north. Others will return south. A few will remain in this very village. Every destination has its own small bundle. Every bundle waits for the right messenger. Hori offers a quiet greeting. The old man smiles before returning his attention to the basket. You have arrived before full darkness. The road was kind today. The river? Very calm. That is good. The conversation ends there. Neither man feels the need to stretch a few simple words into many. The old scribe rises carefully. Years spent sitting over writing tables have made his movements slower now. Even so, his hands remain remarkably steady as he unties Hori's satchel. One message at a time, the scrolls are lifted into the warm glow of an oil lamp. Each clay seal is examined. Each name is read softly beneath the old man's breath. Satisfied, he places every scroll onto the proper shelf. The shelves themselves are made from rough cedar. Years of dust have softened their color. Some are nearly full. Others hold only a handful of documents waiting for the next day's journey. Nothing appears crowded. Nothing appears forgotten. Every message has its place. As the work is finished, another man enters quietly through the doorway. He is much younger. His fingers are stained dark with fresh ink. He carries several newly written scrolls resting upon a wooden board. The ink has only recently dried. He lays them gently upon the table. They are ready now. The older scribe nods. Good. Together they begin preparing the next deliveries. Fresh linen cords are wrapped around each scroll. Clay is pressed carefully over every knot. Small carved seals leave their familiar marks upon the soft surface. One seal belongs to the local grain store. Another to the temple. A third bears the mark of a workshop where linen is woven throughout the year. Watching them work, Hori is reminded once again that the journey of every message begins long before it reaches the road. A letter spends far more time being written, checked, rolled, sealed, and organized than it ever spends inside a messenger's satchel. Speed has little place here. Care matters far more. Outside, the last light of evening slowly disappears. The western sky becomes deep blue. The first bright stars appear overhead. People begin climbing the narrow stairways leading to their rooftops. Some carry sleeping mats rolled beneath one arm. Others balance clay water jars or folded blankets. The rooftops become quiet gathering places. Neighbors exchange soft greetings across narrow streets. Someone quietly plays a simple melody on a reed flute. The notes drift gently through the warm night air before fading into silence. There is nothing hurried about the music. Each note lingers for a moment before giving way to the next. Even the melody seems content to move at the same patient pace as the Nile itself. The older scribe closes the wooden shutters of the record room. The day's work has ended. Tomorrow's work already waits neatly upon the shelves. He turns toward Hori. "You will stay here tonight. If it is no trouble." It is no trouble. A woven mat has already been prepared upon the flat roof. Nearby stands a large clay jar filled with cool drinking water. Beside it rests a small cup shaped by a local potter many seasons ago. The roof is simple. Nothing more is needed. Hori climbs the narrow steps slowly. The evening breeze greets him as soon as he reaches the top. It carries the fresh smell of river water and moist reeds. Far below, the Nile reflects the moon in long silver ribbons that gently break apart whenever a fish disturbs the surface. A fishing boat glides silently through the darkness. Its lone lantern sways softly with every movement of the water. The boatman rows without haste. He knows these waters well enough to travel almost by memory alone. Across the rooftops, families settle onto their mats. Children whisper to one another until sleep slowly steals away their words. An elderly woman points toward a familiar group of stars while telling a quiet story to her grandson. The boy listens with heavy eyelids. Before she reaches the end of the tale, he has already fallen asleep. The woman smiles to herself and gently covers him with a folded linen cloth. Hori lies upon his own mat. The leather satchel rests beside him, close enough that his hand can easily find it in the darkness. Not from worry. From habit. Above him, the sky stretches farther than any road he has ever walked. Thousands of stars shimmer in calm silence. The moon rises a little higher. Its pale light washes over the palm trees, the rooftops, the quiet lanes, and the endless ribbon of the Nile. The village grows still. One lamp after another is gently extinguished. The reed flute has long since fallen silent. Only the smallest sounds remain. The soft rustle of palm leaves. The quiet murmur of the river. A distant owl calling once from the edge of the fields. Then even those sounds seem to settle into the peaceful rhythm of the night. Tomorrow, before the first hint of dawn reaches the eastern horizon, the scribes will wake once again. Fresh ink will be mixed. Reed pens will be sharpened. Papyrus will be unrolled across smooth wooden tables. Farmers will step into the fields. Boatmen will loosen their ropes. Bakers will light their ovens. And Hori, with the same calm patience that has carried him through countless villages, will shoulder his satchel once more and continue along the ancient roads, where every message finds its way not through speed, but through quiet hands, faithful footsteps, and the unchanging flow of the Nile. Before the sun has risen above the eastern horizon, the village begins to breathe again. For a few quiet moments, the world seems suspended between night and day. The stars are still visible overhead, though their light has softened. A pale ribbon of gray stretches across the desert, growing brighter with every passing minute. The air is wonderfully cool. It carries the scent of damp earth, fresh river water, and the faint sweetness of flowering date palms. A gentle mist rests over the quieter bends of the Nile, drifting just above the surface before slowly dissolving into the morning. Hori is already awake. Years upon the road have taught him to rise before the first bird sings. He sits quietly upon his woven mat, listening to the peaceful sounds that belong only to these early hours. The river whispers against its muddy banks. A fish breaks the surface with the smallest splash. Far away, somewhere beyond the fields, a rooster calls once into the darkness. Soon another answers. The village has not yet become busy. Instead, it wakes one family at a time. Below the rooftop, a baker kneels beside his clay oven. He arranges bundles of dried reeds with careful hands before striking two small stones together. Tiny sparks fall onto a nest of dry fibers. A faint thread of smoke appears. Then comes the first small flame. The baker watches patiently. He does not rush the fire. It must grow slowly if it is to heat the oven evenly. As the fire strengthens, he begins mixing flour with cool water inside a broad clay bowl. His hands move with steady confidence. He has repeated these motions nearly every morning of his life. Water. Flour. A pinch of salt. The dough comes together beneath his fingers, soft and warm despite the cool air surrounding him. Nearby, his daughter carries fresh water from the village well. The clay jar rests against her shoulder. She walks carefully, balancing its weight without spilling a single drop. When she returns, the baker smiles. No words are needed. Each knows exactly what the morning requires. Across the lane, another family has already begun grinding barley. The heavy upper stone turns slowly. Grain becomes flour little by little. The soft scraping sound joins the quiet chorus of the awakening village. Hori rolls his sleeping mat. He folds it neatly before carrying it downstairs. Inside the record house, the older scribe is already seated at his table. The oil lamp has nearly burned away. Morning light now slips through the doorway, making the tiny flame almost unnecessary. The old man lifts a small clay lid from the ink jar. He stirs the black ink gently with the tip of a reed pen. Its surface shines for a moment before becoming perfectly still. Everything is ready. 3 fresh scrolls lie upon the table. Beside them rests a fourth. The clay seal is different from the others. It bears the mark of a temple farther north. This arrived late last evening, the scribe says softly. A boatman brought it after sunset. Hori nods. Even messages have their own journeys before beginning another. The old scribe checks each seal one final time. His fingers move slowly across the smooth clay. Years of experience have taught him to notice even the smallest crack. Finding none, he places the scrolls carefully into Hori's satchel. The leather strap settles across the messenger's shoulder with familiar ease. The satchel feels slightly heavier than yesterday. Not enough to matter. Just enough to remind him that another village waits somewhere beyond the morning mist. Outside, the first rays of sunlight touch the tops of the palm trees. Golden light slowly spills across the rooftops. Children emerge rubbing sleep from their eyes. Donkeys shake their heads, making the ropes around their necks creak softly. Goats stretch before wandering toward their feeding places. Everywhere, another ordinary day quietly begins. Hori follows the road north once more. The dust is cool beneath his sandals. For a little while, walking is almost effortless. The Nile remains close beside him. Its broad waters move with calm confidence, reflecting the growing light in gentle waves of silver and pale gold. Several fishermen are already at work. One stands knee-deep in the shallows, carefully casting a circular net across the water. It opens gracefully in the air before settling upon the river like a floating flower. He waits patiently. There is no tugging. No sudden movement. Fishing, like so many things in Egypt, rewards calm hands more than hurried ones. Farther downstream, two brothers guide a small wooden boat along the bank. Bundles of reeds are stacked neatly inside. They speak only occasionally, saving their strength for the work ahead. The rhythmic dipping of their oars becomes part of the morning itself. Dip. Lift. Drip. Then again. The sound fades gradually behind Hori as he continues onward. Not far ahead, the road passes beside fields where flax grows in long green rows. Several women kneel among the plants. They pull weeds with careful fingers, protecting the delicate stems that will later become fine linen. Wide straw hats shade their faces from the strengthening sun. A little girl follows behind them carrying a woven basket. Whenever one of the women gathers a handful of unwanted weeds, she gently places them into the child's basket. The girl smiles proudly. She is helping. Perhaps years from now she will remember these peaceful mornings more clearly than anything else. The warmth slowly returns. The cool breeze begins to fade. The scent of baking bread gives way to the smell of warm earth and sunlit reeds. Hori reaches a narrow wooden bridge crossing one of the irrigation canals. The bridge is simple. Several thick palm trunks support planks worn smooth by countless feet. A farmer waits with two oxen at one end. He smiles politely and gestures for Hori to cross first. There is room for one at a time. Thank you. The messenger steps carefully across the bridge. The wood creaks gently beneath his weight. Below, clear water slips quietly toward waiting fields. Tiny fish dart between waving grasses beneath the surface. Once Hori reaches the other side, the farmer slowly leads his oxen forward. The animals cross without fear. Their broad hooves strike the planks with slow, steady rhythm. Nothing about the crossing is hurried. Beyond the canal, the road widens once again. Here it joins another path coming from the western fields. A pair of young apprentices walk together carrying long bundles of fresh papyrus reeds balanced across their shoulders. They laugh quietly as they compare whose bundle feels heavier. An older craftsman walks behind them. He reminds them gently to keep the reeds straight. Bent fibers are harder to prepare. The boys nod and adjust their loads. Soon they disappear toward a workshop where fresh sheets of papyrus will begin their slow transformation. Hori watches them for a moment. He smiles to himself. Perhaps, many months from now, one of the messages inside his satchel will be written upon paper made from those very reeds. The thought pleases him. Everything along the Nile seems quietly connected. The river feeds the reeds. The reeds become papyrus. The papyrus receives careful writing. The writing travels by patient feet. The message reaches another village. There, another scribe reads it beneath the warm glow of an oil lamp before adding it to the growing memory of Egypt. The cycle continues, season after season, never rushing, never stopping, always moving with the same calm rhythm that has shaped the valley since the first people settled beside its generous waters. And so Hori walks on through the peaceful morning, his steady footsteps blending almost unnoticed into the endless, gentle heartbeat of the ancient land. The morning slowly unfolds across the valley. The sun climbs a little higher, and the coolness left behind by the night begins to fade. The fields brighten beneath the growing light, each narrow irrigation channel reflecting the sky like polished glass. Water slips quietly between the banks, making only the gentlest sound as it continues its patient journey toward waiting crops. Hori follows the road where it runs close beside the Nile. From time to time, he steps aside for another traveler. A woman leads a small donkey carrying woven baskets filled with fresh vegetables gathered before dawn. Green onions rest beside bundles of lettuce, while cucumbers lie wrapped in damp linen to keep them cool for as long as possible. The donkey walks with slow confidence. It knows the road almost as well as its owner. Neither seems concerned about the distance ahead. Markets begin early, but they have learned that worry does not shorten the journey. As they pass one another, the woman offers Hori a gentle smile. The weather will be warm. It will. But the river breeze may stay with us. I hope so. She nods and continues on her way. Soon only the soft clatter of the donkey's hooves remains, growing quieter until it disappears completely. The road becomes peaceful once again. Not far ahead, Hori notices a small grove of tamarisk trees growing beside the water. Their branches bend gracefully over the bank, casting long patches of shade upon the earth below. Beneath one tree sits an elderly man weaving baskets. Bundles of fresh reeds are stacked neatly beside him. His hands move without hesitation. One strand passes over another. Then beneath. Then around. The basket slowly grows from almost nothing. No part of the work is forced. Each movement follows naturally from the last. The old basket maker hums softly as he works. The melody is simple. It rises and falls with the rhythm of his hands. Hori pauses for a moment to watch. The craftsman notices him but does not stop weaving. A messenger. Yes. And I am making something for another messenger. He lifts the basket slightly. This one will carry papyrus. Hori steps closer. The basket is beautifully made. Its walls are tight enough to protect rolled scrolls from dust while still allowing air to move gently through the woven reeds. Strong work, Hori says. The old man smiles. It should last many years. There is quiet satisfaction in those words. In ancient Egypt, many things are made with the hope that they will outlive the hands that created them. A good basket. A well-built boat. A carefully carved door. A finely written record. Each is prepared with patience, not only for today but for many seasons still to come. Hori wishes the craftsman a peaceful day before continuing along the road. The sun now reaches above the palms. Warmth settles across the valley with gentle certainty. Farmers have spread throughout the fields. Some bend low to pull weeds from rows of onions. Others guide oxen through patches of earth prepared for another planting. A young boy carries water to his father in a clay jar almost as large as his own body. He walks carefully, concentrating with every step. When he finally reaches the field without spilling the water, his father's face brightens with quiet pride. The boy smiles. No words are needed. The task itself is enough. Hori enjoys watching these ordinary moments. They remind him that every message he carries belongs to lives very much like these. A scroll may record how many sacks of grain have been stored. Another may ask for extra workers during harvest. Another may simply tell someone that a shipment of pottery has safely arrived. Behind every message are people rising before dawn, working beneath the sun, sharing evening meals, and sleeping beneath the stars. The words travel. The lives remain rooted beside the Nile. As the morning continues, Hori reaches a place where several roads meet. It is not a large crossroads. only 3 well-worn paths joining beneath a broad sycamore fig whose branches spread wide across the open ground. Travelers often stop here. The shade is generous. A shallow well has been dug nearby, lined with carefully fitted stones. Today several people have gathered there. A potter kneels beside his cart, checking each clay vessel before continuing north. He taps every jar lightly with one finger. The clear sound tells him whether the firing was successful. One by one, he nods with satisfaction. Across from him, a shepherd drinks from the well while his flock rests nearby. The sheep lie quietly beneath the tree, chewing slowly and blinking in the pleasant shade. 2 young sisters arrive carrying empty water jars. Their laughter is gentle as they wait their turn beside the well. They lower the rope together. The clay bucket disappears into the darkness below. A moment later it rises again, dripping cool water back into the bright morning light. Hori fills his own flask. The water tastes fresh. A little coolness remains from the earth deep below the surface. He drinks slowly, grateful for every sip. The shepherd watches him with friendly eyes. Long road today. Another village before sunset. There is always another village. There is. The shepherd smiles. And always another road. Both men laugh softly. It is not loud laughter. Only the quiet amusement shared between people whose work often keeps them walking beneath the same endless sky. Before leaving, Hori sits for a short while beneath the sycamore. The bark feels rough against his back. Above him, leaves move gently in the breeze. Sunlight filters through them in small shifting patches that dance across the ground. For a few peaceful moments, nothing asks for his attention. No footsteps approach. No voices rise. Only the whisper of leaves, the distant call of a dove, and the slow breathing of resting sheep fill the air. These pauses become part of every journey. Without them, the road would seem much longer. With them, each day unfolds in calm, gentle pieces. At last Hori stands once more. He brushes a little dust from his linen tunic and settles the satchel across his shoulder. The leather has become softer with every season of travel. Its edges are smooth now, worn by thousands upon thousands of miles walked beneath the Egyptian sun. Ahead, the road narrows as it follows the curve of the river. Palm groves rise beyond the next bend. Somewhere beyond them waits another settlement. Another writing table. Another shelf lined with carefully rolled papyrus. Another family preparing bread while children play nearby. Another scribe dipping a freshly trimmed reed pen into black ink. The valley continues its quiet rhythm without interruption. The Nile flows beside it, calm and certain. And Hori, one patient messenger among many, walks onward through the warm morning light, carrying words that will arrive exactly when their careful journey is complete. The road becomes quieter as the morning slowly leans toward midday. The voices from the crossroads fade behind Hori until they are no more than distant memories carried away by the breeze. Before him, the path follows a gentle bend in the Nile, where the river widens just enough to reflect the open sky like a sheet of polished blue stone. The water moves without effort. There is no rushing current. No loud splashing against the shore. Only the soft murmur of the river meeting reeds that have grown along its banks for longer than anyone can remember. Hori slows his pace for a moment. He enjoys walking beside this stretch of the Nile. The river here seems especially peaceful. Tall papyrus grows in thick clusters, rising well above his shoulders. Their green stalks sway together whenever the wind arrives, and their feathery crowns catch the sunlight in delicate shades of silver and pale green. Small birds disappear among them. From somewhere deep inside the reeds comes the quiet rustle of hidden wings. A little farther along the bank, a family of ducks glides through the calm water. The mother leads without hesitation. Tiny ducklings follow in a neat line behind her, leaving faint ripples that spread slowly across the smooth surface. Hori watches until they disappear into the taller reeds. Simple moments like these are common along the Nile. Yet they never become ordinary. Each morning brings the same river. Each morning the river feels slightly different. Soon the path rises gently above the floodplain. From the higher ground, the valley opens before him. Fields stretch in every direction. Some glow deep green with growing barley. Others have already been harvested, their golden stalks gathered into careful bundles waiting beside the edges of the fields. Beyond them stand villages built from sun-dried mud brick. Their flat roofs blend softly into the colors of the earth itself. Thin columns of smoke rise lazily into the still air. From this distance, every village seems quiet. Each one is busy with hundreds of small tasks that cannot be seen from here. Someone is kneading bread. Someone is repairing a fishing net. Someone is washing linen in the river. Someone is carefully writing another message upon fresh papyrus. The valley is full of work. But from afar, it appears perfectly peaceful. Hori continues down the gentle slope. Near the edge of one field, he notices an elderly woman gathering herbs. She kneels slowly among low green plants growing beside an irrigation ditch. Her woven basket is already half full. She selects each stem with care, examining its leaves before placing it inside. Nothing is pulled carelessly. Nothing is wasted. The herbs will season meals. Some may be dried for later use. Others may be steeped in warm water for someone feeling tired after long days beneath the sun. She looks up as Hori approaches. "You have walked far today." "A little." "You will walk farther." "Before sunset." She nods as though this is exactly what she expected. "May your feet stay strong. And your harvest be generous." Both smile gently. The exchange lasts only a few moments. Yet kindness seems to linger after the words have faded. The road continues beneath the growing warmth. By now the sun stands nearly overhead. The shadows beneath the palms have become short and dark. Workers begin seeking places where they may rest during the brightest hours of the afternoon. Even the birds become quieter. One fisherman has pulled his small boat beneath the shade of overhanging branches. He sits with his legs folded beneath him, carefully untangling a length of fishing line. Nearby, another boatman has spread a damp cloth across several clay jars to keep the water inside as cool as possible. Everything slows beneath the midday sun. Hori reaches a small ferry landing just before noon. The landing is little more than a wooden platform extending a short distance into the river. Several thick posts stand nearby, their surfaces polished smooth by ropes tied and untied through countless seasons. A broad ferry boat waits quietly against the bank. Unlike the smaller fishing boats, this vessel has been built to carry people, animals, and heavy bundles together. Today it is nearly full. Two donkeys stand patiently near the center, each carrying sacks of grain. A potter has loaded several large storage jars wrapped carefully in woven mats. Three women sit together beneath a simple cloth awning, speaking so softly that their conversation blends into the sound of the water. A young boy hugs a basket filled with newly hatched chicks. Every few moments a tiny chirp escapes through the woven reeds covering the top. The ferry master unties the rope from the post. He is an older man with broad shoulders darkened by many years beneath the Egyptian sun. His movements are calm. He checks every knot twice. He adjusts every load before allowing the boat to drift away from the shore. Only when everything feels balanced does he reach for the long steering oar. Safety comes before speed. It always has. Hori steps aboard and settles onto a low wooden bench. The satchel rests securely beside him. As the ferry moves into deeper water, the village behind them begins to shrink. The river widens around the boat. A gentle breeze rises from the surface, cooling everyone's faces. For a while no one speaks. The steady splash of the oar becomes the only sound. Splash. Glide. Splash. Glide. The rhythm is almost hypnotic. The donkeys lower their heads. One closes its eyes. Even the little chicks become quiet beneath their woven cover. Halfway across the river, the ferry master lifts his eyes toward the current. He studies the movement of the water without appearing to think about it. Years upon the Nile have taught him how the river speaks. A darker patch may hide a deeper channel. A line of ripples may reveal a submerged sandbar. He reads these quiet signs as easily as a scribe reads ink upon papyrus. The crossing takes longer than many travelers expect. No one complains. Everyone understands. The Nile deserves patience. Rushing upon the water serves no one. As the opposite shore draws near, children can already be seen waiting beside the landing with bundles of reeds gathered for weaving. Behind them stands a row of palm trees whose long shadows have begun stretching toward the river. The afternoon is slowly beginning. The ferry touches the muddy bank with hardly a sound. The ferry master secures the rope carefully before anyone steps ashore. Only then do the travelers begin gathering their belongings. The donkeys walk down the wooden ramp one careful step at a time. The potter checks each storage jar once again. The women adjust their linen shawls against the bright sun. The boy peeks inside his basket to make certain every tiny chick has completed the crossing safely. Hori thanks the ferry master with a quiet nod before stepping onto firm ground once more. Ahead lies another peaceful road winding between fields of barley and flax. Somewhere beyond a gentle rise in the distance, another village waits beneath the warm afternoon sky, where fresh ink will soon dry upon new sheets of papyrus, and another careful exchange of messages will continue the slow, patient heartbeat of ancient Egypt. The afternoon slowly gives itself to evening. The sun, which has watched over the Nile since the first quiet hours of dawn, now begins its gentle descent toward the western horizon. Its light grows softer with every passing moment, turning the river into a long ribbon of gold that stretches farther than the eye can follow. Hori does not hurry toward the next village. There is no reason to. The day's messages have found their proper hands. Fresh ones will wait until morning. For now, the road belongs only to the fading light, the cool breeze, and the peaceful rhythm that has guided the valley for countless generations. He walks a little farther before stopping beneath a broad sycamore fig overlooking the river. From here, he can see fishermen drawing in their final nets of the day. The boats move slowly across the quiet water, leaving gentle ripples that spread wider and wider until they disappear into the evening calm. Along the riverbank, women rinse clay bowls before carrying them home. Children gather the last armfuls of reeds left to dry in the warm sunlight. Farmers rest their wooden hoes against the walls of their homes and brush the dust from tired hands. Oxen return to their shelters with slow, familiar steps. The day's work has ended without ceremony. It simply gives way to rest. The smell of fresh bread drifts through the cooling air once more. Clay ovens glow softly beneath the deepening sky. Lentils simmer quietly. Fish roast over small fires whose smoke rises straight upward into the still evening. Families gather together. The youngest children lean sleepily against their parents. Grandparents tell old stories that have been spoken so many times they no longer seem like stories at all. They are simply part of the evening, as natural as the river itself. Oil lamps begin to appear one by one. A tiny flame inside each home. A warm light shining through open doorways. From a distance, they resemble quiet stars scattered across the earth, answering the stars that now begin to appear above. Hori reaches the village just as darkness settles gently across the valley. The local scribe greets him with a calm smile. Tomorrow there will be more papyrus. More ink. More careful writing. More roads to walk. But tonight, nothing asks to be finished. The satchel is placed upon its familiar shelf. The leather strap finally rests after another day upon patient shoulders. The scrolls that remain will sleep quietly until morning. The reed pens are washed and laid neatly beside their ink jars. Clay seals rest where they have always rested. The wooden writing table stands waiting in the gentle glow of a single lamp. Everything is ready for another sunrise. Hori climbs to the rooftop with his woven mat beneath one arm. The evening breeze has become wonderfully cool. It carries the scent of the Nile, of damp reeds, of warm earth slowly releasing the heat it gathered throughout the day. He lies back and looks upward. The stars fill the sky without number. The moon rises slowly above the palm trees, silver light spreading across rooftops, fields, canals, and the broad river that has quietly carried life through this valley for thousands of years. Below, the village grows still. One conversation ends. Another fades into silence. A baby sighs in its sleep. A donkey shifts once before becoming quiet again. Somewhere far across the water, a night bird calls. Then there is only the whisper of the Nile. The same gentle whisper heard by farmers finishing their harvest. By fishermen returning home before moonrise. By bakers preparing tomorrow's bread. By children falling asleep beside their families. By scribes who spent long hours shaping careful words with steady hands. By messengers who trusted patient feet more than hurried ones. The river remembers them all. Not by their names. Not by great monuments. But through the quiet rhythm of ordinary days, repeated season after season beneath the same wide sky. Most of the people who carried messages through ancient Egypt were never celebrated. Their stories were rarely carved into stone. Their faces were not painted upon temple walls. Yet without them, villages would have felt farther apart. Families would have waited longer for news. Storehouses, workshops, temples, and farms would have stood a little less connected. They served their world not with speed, but with reliability. Not with loud voices, but with quiet dedication. Their footsteps disappeared into the dust almost as soon as they were made. Yet together, those countless footsteps formed invisible paths that tied an entire kingdom together. Night deepens over the valley. The oil lamps go out one after another. The rooftops become silent. The fields rest beneath the moonlight. The palms sway gently in the cool breeze. The reeds along the river whisper softly to one another. The Nile continues its endless journey northward, just as it did long before Hori walked its banks, and just as it would long after his own footsteps had faded into memory. And somewhere, in the peaceful stillness of another ancient night, a carefully rolled piece of papyrus waits patiently upon a wooden shelf. Its words are safe. Its journey will continue tomorrow. But tonight, there is nothing more to carry. Nothing more to write. Nothing more to hurry. Only the quiet river. The cool night air. The distant stars. And the gentle feeling of an ancient world settling peacefully into sleep. May the calm waters of the Nile carry every restless thought away, as they have carried boats, stories, and quiet lives for countless generations. The breeze grows softer. The lamps have faded. The river whispers on. And beneath the endless stars of ancient Egypt, the night becomes still.